Welcome back, art students. In today's lesson, we will create an elephant. Ready to begin? In this lesson, you will need watercolor paints, paintbrush, black Sharpie marker, pencil with eraser, oil pastels or crayons, a ruler might be optional, I'll show you why in a moment, water for rinsing your brush, and a paper towel. Okay, for today's lesson, we are going to use a white piece of paper and we're going to make 4 quadrants. You can do this by folding a paper, and I'll show you how to do that, or you can use a ruler by measuring the middle and making lines. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll show you how to fold a piece of paper. If you're working with a really thick piece of paper, it's a little hard, a little tricky, but you can do it. You're going to fold over to your hand. So with one hand, you'll be using your helper hand to hold down the paper. And you'll simply bring over those 2 corners and try to match them up. Use this helper hand to hold down your paper, and then you're going to press away from your other hand and then move your hands up and down to make that crease. Okay, and then you'll fold these 2 corners, one helper hand to hold down the paper, line up your 2 corners, and press away from your hand. So you'll have 4 different quadrants when you open your paper. By making these 4 different quadrants, this helps us to know where we're going to make our lines, and it'll help us space out our drawing. So you can choose to use a folded piece of paper. If you're having tricky time with this, you can have an adult or teacher help you with this. Or you can try measuring your paper, finding the center, making a line, and then line over. So you have 4 different quadrants, just like your folded paper. For today's lesson, I'm going to use the piece of paper that has the lines drawn on it so you can see what we're doing. Okay, so we are going to start with our pencil today, and then we will go back and do some erasing lines in the end. So find your pencil, and you should have your 4 different quadrants here. And we're going to start at the top, just pretty close to the top. I'm leaving a little bit of space here. Let's see, I'll make a little dot here so you can see. I'm going to take my line, I'm going to make a rounded line to the middle line. Okay, we're starting to make this line here. Okay, so not quite at the very, very top, middle. Make a curved line, stop. Okay, now we're going to make the bottom portion of our trunk here. Now I'm going to draw sort of right in the middle. This would be right smack dab in the middle of this line, so it's just below the middle line. And for this bottom part of the trunk, I'm going to make a rounded line down and back up. So to help yourself, why don't you go ahead and make a little dot so you know where to end the trunk. So here's the bottom line. Here's the middle. We're going to go right just below the middle. Okay, so watch. Touching that line that we made. Rounded line down. And I'm going to bring that line back up. Now I'm going to make a tiny little line. This will be the end of my trunk. Small. Okay, Now we are going to start just below. We have our middle line here, our folded line, or our line that is right in the center. And I'm going to go, here's the line, here's the middle. I'm going to just kind of go down and find, just give it a little bit of space underneath that line. Okay, and I'm going to make a line up to the middle line. Sort of a curved line up. And I'll have a little tiny triangle space here when I'm finished. Now, touching that line, that's going to be its mouth. I'm going to go down, closer to the trunk, connecting it. Do you see how I went from, it sort of was a wide space, and now I'm going a little bit closer until it's smaller. Okay. Now we can go ahead and we can erase this line now. We're not going to need that line now. That's the line that's right in its head. Brush away all those little bits. Okay, now we're going to make our elephant's body, his front feet. We're not going to see the rest of our elephant, just the front feet. Okay, so touching its head, you're going to make a straight line down right next to that center line and stop. Straight line over, stop. It's a short line. This is the bottom of its foot. Now here's the middle. And I'm going to draw my line right up to about the middle and stop. Over, up, that's about the middle. Now I'm going to make a rounded line here for the elephant's belly. Touching that leg line, a rounded line down and up. Okay, now we will make the elephant's back. For this, you're going to touch the top of the elephant's head, make a line down, and then up a little bit and over. Straight line over. All right, now for our elephant's ear, we've got our center line here, and I'm going to start just to the side on the left-hand side of our center line, and I'm going to go make a rounded line, like a backward C, up, over, and back in. Okay, so I'm going to make two lines. This one is going to start just to the left of that center line, rounded line over that middle line, and back in. Okay, now we're going to trace this line. Not too close, giving it a little bit of space. Okay, we can go ahead and erase that little line we see that is on the elephant's head. Now we're going to go back over these lines with black Sharpie markers, so if there's a little bit of pencil line, don't worry about it. Okay, now we're going to make our elephant's tusk. So we've got here the beginning of our trunk. This is where the elephant trunk is here, and we're going to give it a little bit of space, make a line that goes under, touch the tip of the trunk, and then bring that line right back to the elephant. Now we've got a line that we want to erase here. This will be the white husk of the elephant, and we want that to be really nice and white, so try your best to erase the line that you made there. Okay, our elephant is missing its eyes, and the elephant's eyes are pretty far down on its head, so for the elephant's eye, we've got the tusk here. We're going to go close to the bottom of the trunk, the top of the trunk, and we're going to make a rounded oval. A round line around. Elephants have lots of wrinkles, so we'll make some detail around the elephant's eye. Now go ahead and gently shade in with your pencil. You have the center oval, circle around 1 and 2. Okay, we are going to give our elephant some detail. Now, right above its eye, we're going to make a long line. A little bit shorter, a little bit shorter, a little bit shorter. These are the wrinkles on our elephant's face. I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, now let's do some right underneath, right on its trunk. So under its tusk, why don't we make 5? Longer, a little bit shorter. They're going from biggest to littlest. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would make about 5. Now we'll make a few on our elephant's trunk on the inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. We have a couple lines here that we can erase. Well, now that we're over here, you can go ahead and erase that center line if you have it. And you can erase that middle line too. And that top line, we won't need the lines anymore. Okay, so our elephant, we'll make some wrinkles on our elephant's leg, sort of the knees of the elephant. So close to the trunk, we'll make a half circle. Do you see I have my straight line of my elephant, and I've just made a half circle. 1, 2, 3. Now I've put a decorative blanket on my elephant. You can do that, or you can leave your elephant just bare. It's up to you. If you're choosing to do that, I'll show you how I've done that. I've done a semicircle at the top, rounded line up and stop, another line that traces down and over, another one. So I have 3 lines, and then I've made sort of little decorative ovals that go around. All the way around. You can make them touching, or you can make them kind of hanging off to the side like a tassel. Now I've also done one on the elephant's head. So a half circle on the elephant's head, a line that traces that line. I've got 3 lines, and just like the blanket on the elephant's back, I'm going to make those decorative ovals around his headpiece. In the Indian culture, sometimes the royal family used to ride on elephants, or you might see them in their fancy blankets in a parade. It's just very pretty colors. All right, so we are ready to trace with marker now. So go ahead and find your Sharpie marker. Put the lid on the tip, and we are going to just go back and trace the lines that we made. Now, if you have those lines for your center that you forgot to erase, like I see one here, don't trace those. So maybe before you start tracing, do a quick look at your piece of art. Do you have any lines that go through the middle of your elephant? Do we forget to erase any of those? Any lines that come out or next to it? I've erased my lines, so maybe you don't have lines at all. Okay, so let's start just the same way that we drew our elephant and go back and trace our lines. Now, if I'm going too fast for you, you always can pause the video. So starting at the top of our elephant, we're going to trace the round head down into the elephant's trunk. Now I'm going to go on the inside of the elephant's trunk. Lift up your marker. When you're drawing past the elephant tusk, remember we want to keep that nice and white. So when you get to the elephant tusk, lift up your marker and we can trace that tusk in black. And the elephant's mouth, bottom of its head, straight leg line down, over, you're tracing every line. Elephant's ear. So in the end, we have all of our lines traced in black. The round eye, we're going to shade in our elephant's eye with our black Sharpie and trace the lines around our elephant. All right, and now let's go ahead and trace those wrinkle lines we've made. Elephants are beautiful animals. They are the world's largest land animal. And very smart. Okay, trace the knee lines. All right, and now if you have chosen to make a decorative blanket on your elephant, go ahead and trace that now. Okay, I think we have traced all of our lines, and now if you chose to make a decorative blanket and headdress for your elephant, we're going to use our crayons or our oil pastels to add some color here. If you did not, maybe you want to add some crayon color or oil pastel around our elephant. We are going to, in the end, paint our elephant with watercolor paint. So if you are going to decorate, just be careful not to go inside of our elephant. We're not going to paint our elephant. We're going to paint our elephant gray. So keep the colors up here or around the elephant. Okay, so you can choose to paint your elephant blanket any shade that you like. I found that these colors are really pretty and look nice together, but you can choose any color you want, maybe one color or just a couple. So I'm going to paint or color in the center of my blanket in orange. And I'm going to make my elephant's blanket and its headdress match. So I'm going to do this one in orange, and then I will go to the center of the headdress in orange. Okay, so there's one. Now blue. We will be using oil pastels when we'll be using watercolor. So while you are using your crayons or your oil pastels, remember to press down hard so your colors are showing bright after we paint. Okay, so there's blue under the orange and blue under this orange. Okay, and now pink. Okay, and I've made those tiny little tassels underneath the blanket and the headdress. I've made them green. They're small little ovals, so don't be worried about getting your crayon or your oil pastel over that line. It's just there to kind of help us to stay in that space. Okay. Now, this is an important color that we don't want to forget. It's our white elephant tusk. So really press down hard when you're shading in your elephant tusk, because we want that to be really nice and white. Okay, so it's kind of hard to see on the white oil pastel on the white paper, so I'm going to just kind of tilt my paper to see, did I color it all in? And I see that I forgot to color in that tiny little corner. So now I'm finished. Okay, with a gray, we're going to trace on the outside of our elephant all the way around. This will help keep the watercolor paints that we use from the inside of our elephant going on the outside, and from the outside colors going on the inside. So let's start at the top of our elephant, and we're going to trace with our gray the top of the elephant. It's the elephant's back. Okay, now it's rounded head. Try to stay close to that line. It's okay if you go a little off the line. Let's say you accidentally go off the line like this. Just go ahead and shade in that space so it's not white between. Going all the way around. Okay, we are ready to paint our elephant now. Okay, so go ahead and find your paintbrush. We're going to get your paintbrush wet. Dip it in first. Now we're going to use our black. Our black in our watercolor palette is pretty light and it will end up looking gray. It doesn't really come out black on paper. So find your black and really get it nice and wet. Dip your paintbrush in the water again and then bring that wet paintbrush that's dripping with water right back to your black. And now we're going to just shade in our entire elephant. We're going to be careful not to go on the outside of our elephant. So let's start at the top. It's black now, but it will dry much lighter. Now I can go right over those black Sharpie lines, and you can see them right through. Going around my elephant tusk. I'm painting slow so I can control my brush to stay in the shape that I want. If I get going too fast, my brush will sort of be out of control and it will get paint where I don't want paint. Okay, so the head is shaded in pretty well, and now I'm going to do the body. If you have a large paintbrush when you're painting a big surface, it's nice to use a bigger brush. I have a bigger brush than the brush that comes with this palette, so if you have a bigger brush, that is better to use. And if you get those little puddles of water, remember just to push them on your paper. You can get a little bit of paint to go a long way. Fill in all of my elephant, and I don't want to leave any white spots. Okay. Go ahead and rinse your brush. We're going to use a different color for the background. Now, maybe some of you chose to make using some colors to add some detail around your elephant. And remember, when we're using the watercolor paints, it'll just run right off. So I'm going to show you for my example piece here. I didn't do anything other than add the color of the watercolor paint around, but I wanted to experiment and see what it might look like if we do some decorative, maybe designs around. So maybe I'll just do some decorative lines. Wavy lines. Around my elephant, and maybe some blue. You can draw flowers or maybe polka dots. This This elephant's going to a party. Maybe a little green. Maybe I'll put some green dots. I just want you to see what it looks like. And you can decide how you want to make your elephant background, plain or adding some detail in the background. Maybe a little pink, using the same colors that I used for my blanket and headdress. It's nice to experiment and try different things. You might try one elephant like this with just plain, and then maybe try again by using the background. Okay, now I'm ready to shade in my background, and I think for my background I'm going to choose a different color. So let's try about blue. See what blue looks like. Maybe you'll make rainbow colors around your elephant. Now that gray line we put around our elephant will help to keep our colors separate. I can go right over my crayon. There's a little tiny space between the elephant's head and its tusk, and I want to shade that in there. I see you got a little blue on the elephant's leg, and I can kind of correct that. There's a little bit of blue where I don't want blue. I can take my paintbrush, since this is wet, and I can kind of dab it off. Still see it a little bit, but it's better. Okay, so let's take a look. Maybe push this wet paint around, look for any wet spots or dry spots. Any white parts that need to be painted? Well, I think these look really fun. Totally different, really. So I wonder, how have you done yours? Have you done just a plain background? Did you add a decorative blanket and headdress? I'd love to see how you've done your elephant. Okay, that looks great. Thanks for painting an elephant with me today. See you next time. Bye.